There are many things that make a film cinematic. Camera, lenses, production design, impressive locations, and of course, lighting. When budgets are tight, and with some lights costing thousands, lighting can sometimes get overlooked. But don't underestimate what can be done with limited resources.
So sorry.
I'm going to show you some looks you can achieve with just one budget light and some creativity. This is the iFootage SL160DN, a highly versatile mini light with 70 watts of power. So for this setup, to replicate the moon shining through an imaginary window on the subject, creating a few long shadows across the face of the subject. So I use this iFootage adapter here. Then I was able to use a bigger sort of standard bones mount, and then I added these barn doors with a filter. These barn doors have a mechanism where you slide one side in and then the other side magnetizes there, and then it clips on at the back. So I had blue light. So using this setup and these barn doors to direct the light, I was able to replicate that moonlight I needed. For it to be believable light that it's coming in through the window and it's moonlight coming in, we cast it blue, and I also set up the light on the edge of the room coming across the face of the subject because I wanted shadows to be cast over the face, like so. And I think it came out quite good in the end, exactly how I wanted it. Now I did control the light a bit so there wasn't too much spill all over the room, but it turned out that wasn't too much of an issue anyway because the end frame was quite a tight frame anyway. We didn't see any of the walls. I had the camera set up on a C-stand over the subject to get that lovely downwards angle because it's kind of a hallmark of Neo-Noir that you might use interesting and weird, slightly off-kilter angles. Also, the light's hard. We're using hard lighting here because we're going for that Neo-Noir look. We're making it gritty, grungy and dark and eerie and spooky. So I want to replicate moonlight again on this next shot, and I also wanted those hard shadows to be cast from the subject at the very beginning of the shot. And so I put the light up really, really high, so high in fact that I had to utilize the app that you can use with these lights in order to change settings and turn it off and on. You can operate the light from the back here with the sort of power button there, and then changing power by either 20% increments like that, or just by using the dial. We use the barn doors to control the spill on the back wall there, and directing the light even more with the honeycomb grid to make sure that the light was really aimed exactly where I wanted it. Now this sits just behind the colored filter. So again, hard light, so we get these nice hard shadows, which I think really works for this kind of look. And if the light was lower, the shadows would be longer, but I didn't want them to be too long. I wanted them to be visible, but not too crazy. So a light nice and high up. So the practical light in the frame and also the laptop light itself is getting us a good exposure on the face of the subject in this shot. And then we've got the moonlight sort of kissing the side of the head at the back, showing some more contrast and adding some clear separation between the subject and the background. So to create this look, I wanted a distinct contrast between the subject and the background. So I had to make sure that the light wasn't going on the background at all. So as you can see, the whole left of the frame is in complete darkness, which leaves some empty space and room for the direction in which the subject is looking. I wanted to replicate the look, which is quite common in noir, where the shutters go across the person's face as they're looking out the window, and the light from outside is coming through the shutters and it creates lines on the subject. Now I don't have shutters at home, and I don't have a Gobo and even the spotlight attachment to put Gobos in. So instead, I made my own shutters out of foam board and used that to create this look. When you change the distance between the light and the foam board and the subject, you get different widths of shadow size of shadow, and also how hard and soft the shadow becomes depending on those distances. So you can really play with it and come up with some different creative looks depending what you want to do. And this foam board is less than a tenner. The light was angled in such a way as to reflect on the right side of frame so that we get a bit of separation on the rear of the subject, just so that the back of the subject doesn't get lost, because obviously the front is really well lit and the back you get a kiss of light to separate them from the background. And I utilised some of this mist in a can, which you just spray it in the air and it adds some depth and interest to the image. And this stuff is reasonably cheap, it's simple, and it works really well indoors. So to achieve the film look on this footage, I utilised a plugin called Dehancer. If you want to know more about that, then check out this video next. And as ever, I'll see you on the next one.